I'm Dr. Anthony James, Director and Chief Clinical Officer for the Somaveda College of Natural Medicine. I'm also the Dean and Chief Instructor of the Thai Yoga Center right here in beautiful Brooksville, Florida. Today is going to be the start of a series of recordings that I hope to do on the BioTap or BET touch, balance, and attunement technique that we teach in every Somaveda class. I'm going to go into a little bit about the history, but I'm going to go into point by point what's covered in the actual manual with the same name. So if you're a Somaveda student, you already have this manual or you already have access to this manual. If you don't, you can order copies of this manual at beardedmedia.com and Amazon.com. And there's also, I believe, an e-book version, which you can download. And then you can come back and you can follow along in your own book and take notes on my discussions with the BioTap or BET touch, balance, and attunement technique. So BioTap is so important right now. BET, EFT, TFT, all of the energy psychology, energy balancing techniques and methodology protocols that are really helpful for healthy mind and healthy spirit, healthy emotion, healthy psychology are especially important right now because we're going through really an emotionally disturbing time. And so whatever issues you might have normally, if everything was fine and everybody was healthy and everything was well, which by the way never happens, are more of an issue now. So if you're a healthcare worker, if you're a Somaveda practitioner, a Thai yoga practitioner, then right now is when you need to be emphasizing non-touch or non-contact aspects of your Somaveda practice. And certainly energy psychology and tapping is one of the most valuable things that we do. And it is especially appropriate for the current time that we're in. Especially important. Okay? So, let me just continue. Right here on the home page, you can see I've got a fair amount of doctorates, etc. behind my name. Yeah, I have many doctorates, and I bring all of these to bear in collating through, creating, and giving you this information. So let me just say this, the use of bio-neuroharmonics, adaptive resonant field adjustment, incorporating emotional liberation technique to support the human biological transformational apparatus, otherwise known as the machine. I mean, that's what biotapping is. And yes, it is also based on Gary Craig's tapping. And yes, it is based on energy psychology. And yes, it is based on Tibetan medicine and the Thai traditional medicine, especially the Toksen tradition. But notice here in the copyright that I first published this book in 2010. So we've actually been using this for quite a long time, and we're a little bit ahead of the curve. Now, the book's dedicated to my wife, Julie James, and to the other teachers who've helped bring this work to the world. But I want to give you a quote from the Buddha. Man must himself rise and open the portals that give upon liberty, and neither are those portals locked and the keys in possession of someone else from whom they must be obtained by prayer and entreaty. That door is free of all bolts and bars save those that man himself has made. And that was by one of our Vipassana elders, Piyadasi Thera. What I get from this quote from the Buddha is an affirmation that you are in charge of your healing. And there's no line drawn in the sand as far as what kind or type or portion of your healing that you're in charge of, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and so on. And of course, in these lectures, we're really going to focus on psychological health and emotional health. But this quote from the Buddha and from many other saints and sages passed to us down through the ages from the ancient rishis and smart people from the past says that you yourself have to step up to basically cure yourself. It's a reiteration of this statement, physician, heal yourself, which we ascribe to Hippocrates, or similar statements from the founder of Buddhist medicine, Jivaka, and his Oath for Healers that is now about 2,500 years old, okay? And we're part of that tradition. Let's see. There we go. Now, it is very important for me to give credit where credit is due. So in this first video presentation about the BET I'm doing here in April during the Corona crisis 2020, we still want to give credit where credit is due. We practice intentional and conscious copyright, if you want to say that. These concepts are taken from Chinese, Tibetan, and Thai origins. They're based on meridian theory. They're based on five-element theory. They're based on acupoint tapping protocols first taught to me in the 1980s by Sensei Kiku Miyazaki and Sensei Toshiko Phipps, and my Thai teachers, Pak Kru Min, Pak Kru Upakon, Pat Tanakit, Atan Buntum Kitniwam, Kruvilawang Siti Sopong. However, this is where my appreciation and use of tapping energy points was first discovered, and I give them credit for bringing us the idea of tapping acupuncture points, tapping Ayurveda Lom, or Thai Ayurveda Lom, Indian Ayurveda Marma, and chakras and so on. Second, very important, to Gary Craig, the founder and innovator of EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, for his contribution and permission to incorporate elements derived from the EFT protocol into our treatment strategy. In particular, his basic recipe, as shown later in this manual, has been a great asset in simplifying the practical aspects of doing and applying these principles simply and without the need for tools as in Toksen or Taylor, and such as using a wooden hammer to tap the points. Okay, and we're presenting this EFT-related cousin type of work as a good faith effort to expand the use of EFT, now we're really calling it energy psychology, and related concepts and practices around the world. So there, I want to give that. Now, look over here on the right side of the page, and you see there's a list here. Samaveda BioTap, or BET, can bring relief from all issues such as, these are both anecdotal and these are clinical and scientific, and certainly the Association for Energy Psychology has published hundreds and hundreds of clinical trials on the value of tapping for various disorders, both physical, emotional, and psychological. But let's run through this just to remind you how valuable and how appropriate this tapping technique is currently. Chronic pain, stress, anger, addiction issues, food issues, weight loss issues, anxiety, trauma, depression issues, fears and phobias. Who doesn't have fears and phobias right now? Allergy issues. Big issue, because right now the corona thing is happening, the flu thing is happening, and the allergy storm is happening. Perfect storm all at the same time. Makes it harder to sort out your symptoms to decide if you have a seasonal affectation or you have a really risky infectious disorder. Blood pressure issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, relationship issues, women's issues, children, geriatric issues, school and performance issues, fear of public speaking. I have that, tapping on that right now. Sexual dysfunction, serious diseases from hypertension to cancer, financial issues, yes, can be extremely valuable in helping you sort out your emotional, mental, and psychological relationship to what's happening to you right now with your money, with your job, your income, with your finances. Blocked energy, emotional disorders, goes without saying, confusion, dyslexia, proven, claustrophobia, abuse issues, sports performance, bipolar, fear of flying, healing, asthma, fibromyalgia, anguish, violent tendencies, rage, physical disease, literal physical pain, as an alternative to opiates, for example, or OTC pain medications such as NSAIDs that have risk of heart attack and stroke, violent tendencies, rage issues, physical disease, bruxation, TMJ, bulimia, anorexia, nervousness, cravings, compulsions, toxicity issues, energy balance issues, heartburn issues. We've actually successfully treated heartburn and acid reflux using tapping alone, okay? Psychological limitations of beliefs. We're in a situation right now where everybody has to adapt, where we have to adapt, and where we have to take on new belief systems in order to move forward in the world and to be happy in this changing world, and so much more. Oh my God. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Again, for you practitioners, for you persons who are wannabe practitioners, or just for the public wanting to know more about how energy balancing techniques, energy psychology techniques can help you, this is super valuable for you to know this. It's cheap. It is not costly to do practice or to have consultations with certified practitioners. And yes, we have lots of certified practitioners. We have a list of them on our website at ThaiYogaCenter.com that you can arrange a phone or video appointment to be able to work through some of your issues that are current, okay? And we can start small or we can start big. That's completely up to you. Now, this workbook, and again, this is available on Bearded Media and Amazon, covers many, many different topics. What is BioTap? Surprising physical healings, use in ethical fashion with common sense, common uses, side effects, what our agreement is, what are biotransformational technologies, our developmental plateau, kinds of human beings, what kind of man or woman is BioTap for, a new definition of pain, that's a very important thing, how to do a Soma Veda BioTap session, and initial points plus the algorithms, and I'm going to give you a cheat sheet and a chart that you can see, which is also downloadable in the ebook. For example, if you're a Soma Veda graduate, Thai Yoga practitioner, CTP 1 or above, the charts that go with this are in your Dropbox folder, okay? If you're in the Learn Thai Yoga home study program, they're in the course that has all the tapping content and clinical applications. All right. Now, this lecture that I'm doing right now is really about the 34 BioTap premises. In order to, I guess I'm starting more fundamentally than just showing you how to tap, of course, because I want to dig behind, I want to dig deep, because I want you to understand the technology, how and why we do it the way we do it, why we think so highly of it, why we recommend it so highly, in order to give you incentive to take it on, to learn how to do it, to start practicing. If you were introduced to it in the past, but you're not really doing it now, or you're doing it for other people, but you're not doing it for yourself, of course, all healing begins with yourself. And in my opinion, it's unethical to counsel people and do tapping sessions if you're not working on your own issues. So that's a saying, okay? But we have 34 premises for BET, okay, for energy psychology. That's in the Soma Veda system. Other systems, such as EFT, TFT, et cetera, may have different premises. Please understand that. I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I am a naturopath. I am an MD. I am an energy healer. I am a gold sash Achan in traditional Thai medicine and martial arts. And I have a really fine understanding about this, which maybe others might not have. Maybe they understand better than me, in which case it all goes into this pool of the Akashic record of the sophistication of energy, healing, and balancing that the universe has given us access to at this critical time. So you can see right here, I'm not going to go through this list one at a time yet, but you can see here's the first 11, from everything is energy to it takes energy to make energy. Then we go from negative interference patterns are not real, all the way down to psychological mental illness and negative emotions are the same and have the same causes. Okay, a little more introduction. The acronym BET stands for Bioneuroharmonics, Adaptive Resonant Field Adjustment, incorporating emotional liberation tapping technique to support the stress adaptive human biological transformational apparatus. Whew, now you know why I just call it BET, okay? Somaveda BET. It's a methodology for addressing negative emotional issues of any kind, used in conjunction with other energy-based healing practices such as Somaveda Thai Yoga. The technique is very simple in practice. You basically pick an emotional issue to be treated, tap key energy points in specific patterns or algorithms, while at the same time, right and left brain integration techniques such as humming, singing, counting are done simultaneously with the tapping. Okay, and I want to add this, in Somaveda we incorporate this into the traditional Thai yoga therapy protocols, or our therapeutic day protocol. So for example, as we're doing energy balancing hands-on, a form of religious therapeutics or chirothesia, as indications of tension, defensive reflex, and emotional release related to specific lines, points, or chakras, or asanas, or therapeutic postures on the body, as they manifest and the therapist becomes aware of them, we can actually take this technique and right then and there we can tap on the emotional issue that correlates with the physical presentation that we're experiencing in the moment. That is a really important thing. It's a unique thing. We're probably one of the only people who actually practice this. And then we have the other option, of course, especially appropriate for the current time and maybe for the future as well, that we can actually do surveys non-locally, and we can actually do tapping protocols either in person with social distancing, mask and so on, so that we're not communicating possibility of illness. But we can also do this over the phone, and we can do this by video, similar to what I'm doing here, but maybe with Zoom or Skype or Facebook Live or some other format. Somaveda BioTap may be a miracle for relief and rescue from chronic issues and pain, which are resulting from old and unresolved energy issues relating or coming from the past. There is now no reason to continue these old patterns and tapes which limit our abilities to be present in the here and now. Now, I know a lot of people right now are wanting to not be here now. It's very stressful, it's very scary, it might be genuinely having to deal with illness at various levels, from mild to deadly. Okay, and people want to somehow escape and want to get away from all this. A lot of people resorting to drugs and drinking and alcohol and so on, and or just mindless pursuits of just binge watching television shows, which, although in and of themselves there's no harm in that, but again, if it's a form of escapism, we're not dealing with issues. And guess what? We not only need to deal with our issues that this COVID scenario is bringing up right now, that are specific to the present moment, but also they're triggering landmines of issues that actually the origin is in the past. And this is causing both physical discomfort, reducing the efficacy of the immune system, causing mental, psychological stress unnecessarily, interfering with our ability to communicate and to be in community. Remember, social distancing, physical distancing, does not mean that you have to withdraw from community. We still need to be partners in our community and be effective in dealing with each other and being maybe more helpful than usual, maybe a little less selfishly centered on my own issues than usual, taking into account that I'd like to be helpful for others. Now this manual is the starting point. Now I've also added a lot of videos to the LearnThaiYoga.teachable platform, which you can look at with more visible physical instruction than maybe I'm going to do in this video. Okay, it's not intended to answer all the questions. By God, even if I spend 20 hours on this, I'm not going to be able to answer all the questions. Now, as you're watching this video, if you want to ask questions, please do so. Do so both in the comment section, and if it's on Learn Thai Yoga, more comments section, and I will either answer there in the comment section, or I will make another video that has a list of the questions and what I feel are good answers to those questions. So please keep that in mind as we go more forward here. Now, if I'm talking a little fast, forgive me, because I'm following the text and I want to get through as much as I can in about an hour, give or take, so that we can take this in bites and not have a marathon class, so to speak. I want you to take it in, meditate on it a little bit, and then move on to the next lesson. And this is lesson number 1. All right, so we're starting right here with a note on BioTap Surprising Physical Healings. Okay, and it was designed to overhaul and bring an entirely new dimension to traditional Oriental practice of Somaveda Thai Yoga. After teaching hundreds and thousands of students over several years, how many years? Full-time since 1984, if that gives you an indication, coupled with my personal clinical experience and actually hands-on treating thousands of patients for every imaginable disease and disorder, I realized that what I actually did in session, I began to take on some non-traditional aspects. In other words, I put non-traditional in quotes because in my heart, I now believe we are formulating in a profound way the real secret healings that have been stored and hidden in our traditions. Okay? So when we say Somaveda is a holistic, I mean it literally, that it's not just rubbing and tugging. It is not just rubbing on people for money. It is not fluff and buff. It is not just stretching. It's none of these things, because Somaveda traditional protocol has to address not only physical issues directly as a form of physical therapy, for example, Thai traditional physical therapy, but it also has to address the energy imbalances that are in the energy body, which are called the tridosha, and also has to address the mental aspects, the psychological and emotional aspects. From an Ayurvedic point of view, we actually have to address issues in 5 bodies, not one body. So a lot of people say what they're doing is traditional and that it is holistic, and then all they do is rub on you or stretch you and maybe help make you nappy or sleepy. Okay, now I like that myself. That feels really good to me as a person on the receiving end, but it is not holistic because it doesn't directly address my other parts, my other 4 bodies. All right. So this idea of energy tapping or biotapping addresses all 5 Ayurvedic bodies, which in Ayurveda we call koshas. Okay. All right, again, I already gave credit to Gary Craig. He gave me permission personally for this integration exchange of ideas when I lived in Grass Valley, California, when the school was for a brief time located in Grass Valley, California. And from that moment to this moment, I have given him credit. Now, one thing I want to show here is this image, and this graphic, I did not create this graphic. It's actually a photograph of a wood panel located on the wall at Wat Ampawah in Ampawah, Thailand, or in Korat district, Thailand. It's a traditional Thai temple which for 400 plus years has been teaching Thai traditional medicine, and especially focusing on methodologies that use tools to tap the body and to translate the energy of the practitioner to the body and energy of the client. And this is actually a wood carving, hand-tooled marquetry, we would call it. inside the walls of Wat Ampelwat, which are showing one of the monks using a little hammer and a little probe to tap in a particular algorithm the energy points on the human body. And this is also very similar to a Japanese energy tapping technique, which is called the Manaka method, using a Manaka hammer. The only difference, though, is that this illustration's over 400 years old. Okay? And Wat Ampelwat is covered from floor to ceiling, wall to wall, with inlaid illustrations from Thai traditional medicine and Buddhist medicine. And so when I was there, and the monks were so generous in their teaching with me, and also in my classes at Puthai Sawan in Nong Kham, Thailand, and also in Bangkok through the Wat Po Association of Thai Traditional Medicine Schools, I was introduced to tapping methods also. In the late 80s, I was introduced to Tibetan tapping by Kiku Miyazaki, Sensei Kiku Miyazaki. And, but the difference is, in the past, to do this form of tapping and this tool-assisted energy balancing in traditional Thai medicine, you had to study for many years to learn all the marmas and all the acupoints, more than 700. And then there were many, many different algorithms. In fact, there was a different sequence of points for every individual disease of the top 100 diseases. These top 100 diseases are actually carved in stone on a plaque, a marble plaque, which is set in a stone wall at Wat Po in Bangkok, for example. And then it's also illustrated. These 100 traditional illnesses and their treatments are also illustrated, for example, on stone carvings and panels at Wat Korat in southern Thailand also, and also in other places around Thailand. But I just wanted to show you this to very clearly give you the iteration here that what we're talking about is not new. Tapping has been used as a remedy, or as a source of remediation, reduction of suffering, of pain and suffering, and restoration of function, as a form of functional medicine. We know, well, just from Wat Ampelwat in Thailand, at least for 400 years. But we know from other, both anecdotal and archaeological references, that tapping has been used widely in Oriental medicine, Tibetan medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, traditional Japanese medicine, Korean Ama, and Thai traditional medicine, among others, classical Indian Ayurveda, for thousands of years. No particular reason why it will stop working or not work as effectively as it has in the past. For us, Occidental, Western, modern people in our modern situation and the modern illnesses that we're being presented with. For example, it's not the first pestilence in history. There are biblical references, for example, in the Bible to pestilence and illnesses, which we would now call plagues of various kinds, 3,000-4,000 years ago in the Old Testament. There are references to plagues and pestilence and infectious communicable disorders in Ayurveda and the Sushruta Samhita up to 4,000 years ago. So these methodologies have survived that, just as humanity has survived that. They're just as valid, just as functional, just as important as for consideration of a holistic medical approach to current issues and current health crisis as they ever have been in the history of mankind and the history of the world. So I hope that I'm able to communicate that. Now, I want to stress that you want to complete your training. You want to do all the courses, you want to get your certification, and you want to present this work in an ethical fashion, right? Common sense would suggest that you wouldn't expect much in the way of negative side effects from a biotep session. This is because there are no surgical procedures, no needles, no pills or chemicals, no pushing or pulling of the body. Instead, there are just a few seemingly harmless procedures that involve tapping, humming, counting, and rolling your eyes around in your head, By now, over several 100,000 people have used similar or related tapping-based techniques. The number of complaints are well under 1%, maybe 1% of 1%. And maybe some of those complaints, the majority of them, were really about patients on their own, maybe tapping too hard or tapping a point too long or too many times that they got a little soreness. Okay? In other words, once in a while someone might report feeling a little achy, sore, or nauseous. These go with the idea of all emotional release is cathartic and has a physiological aspect which could manifest as achiness, fatigue, soreness, or nausea. On occasion, a few people report feeling worse. Because these reports are so infrequent, it's unknown whether or not the Somaveda BioTap or BET and or derivative energy-based techniques actually cause a problem. Some people, by the way, feel nauseous or get worse at the mere mention of their particular problem. They will do so whether or not the tapping method is introduced. All right, so our related healing and balancing work are still in their beginning stages, and we have much to learn. So, yes, that multi-thousand-year tradition. Yes, practice in the United States in our school full-time since 2009. However, we're still learning new things about it and learning, for example, new integration strategies, and it's actually a really fascinating world. And right now we're learning a lot because for the last 5 years or so, energy psychology and tapping is being heavily researched by universities, research think tanks, and scientific investigators all over the world. All over the world. And these clinical trials and so on are available. I have included them for students, certainly in the Learn Thai Yoga teachable platform, in the Jumpstart Your Healing Practice platform. Okay? So, here's an important statement, and I'm going to read it carefully. Only go where you're invited. Stay only as long as necessary. Do the minimum necessary with the least side effects, and leave when appropriate. As we say in the naturopathic community, at the very least, do no harm. And as we say in the Ayurveda and yoga community, practice ahimsa. As we say in the Buddhist medical community, generate bodhicitta through application of the Metta Sutra, which again reiterates, do no harm. Okay? This statement, only go where you're invited, stay only as long as necessary, do the minimum necessary with the least side effects, and then leave when appropriate, is actually a restatement of a teaching that originally I was given by Sifu Francis Fong, Grandmaster of Wing Chun Kung Fu. Sifu Fong teaches out of, I think he's still in Atlanta, Georgia. But I was only 17 years old when Sifu Fong began to teach me the underlying principles of Yip Kai Man's system, heritage, or lineage, if you will, of Wing Chun Kung Fu. And a statement very, very similar to this was one of the founding principles of Wing Chun, and I've adopted it and I've incorporated it and used it ever since, as I have from many, many of my other great teachers and grandmasters. Okay? So others in the energy world have said this before me, and I'm sure they'll say it after. We believe in common sense use and applications according to your actual ability, training, and background. Most students and practitioners will already understand what I have to say. The bottom line here is that we need to use common sense contraindications with Somaveda BioTap BET and not, N-O-T, not apply it to people with serious issues unless we have the appropriate training, experience, and an appropriate license or authorization. For example, we're a tribal organization under the Native American Indigenous Church, which as a minister of the NAIC is the only way that I can give specific counseling for a specific illness, and that again is only with other NAIC members. Okay? So most students in my programs will already understand this. Appropriate training, experience, appropriate license and or authorization. if required or necessary to do so. It's truly exciting to discover a tool for healing so interesting and potentially profound, yet in good conscience, we must work from a cautious and skeptical frame of mind. The issue is multifaceted, of course. One of the delightful aspects of Soma Veda Biotap and its many cousins is that for the vast majority of people, it can be applied with little or no pain. Its gentle nature and non-invasive approach will finally provide a way for everyone to safely move towards wellness in mind, body, emotions, and spirit. And why not? Why deny the public access to tools that are so often transformative and on so many issues, and for most people, so gentle and easy to apply? But we want to be ethical about our application. For yourself, yes, start practicing, going through the basic algorithms and tapping on your issues after you complete class number 1. However, if you're going to be using this as a medical therapeutic ministry counseling modality with other people, then go through all the classes, watch all the videos, read through the workbook. Now that I'm creating these lectures, go through them and get to a point to where you're really stupidly informed and comfortable, and you're also starting to see some of the results of using this methodology in your own issues, your own health, your own mental stability, your own psychology, your own depression, your own anxieties, your own fears, your own phobias, and then bring that experience without hesitation. Begin to offer it to as many people as you can, because we are too few in number as far as practitioners who are knowledgeable in this, and our communities in the world around us need help now, and that help is you. Just like we say in chirothesia, the concept of ministry, laying on hands, hands-on healing, is that you, the minister, you, the counselor, you, the practitioner, you are God's hands bringing healing to the world. You're not just God's gift to hands, you are God's hands. God doesn't have hands, Spirit doesn't have hands, but you do. And so Spirit works through us to bring this to the people who need it. Own that and celebrate that. And I'm going to end this introduction video number 1 right here. The next video I'm going to put together will be number 2. And just as a little heads up here, let's see what we're going to go to next on page 14. We're going to start with, on page 15, common uses for Soma Veda Biotap BET. Okay, God bless. Namaste. Thank you so much. Aho. See you in the next